Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Courageous Curiosity Podcast. I'm Superintendent Ben Mainka from the Novi Community School District, and welcome to our Season 2, which is kind of a cool thing. You're here for Season 2, the beginning of Season 2. So we didn't know we would have a Season 2, but people told us they kind of like the show. So we're going to keep this going, talking about things that pique our interest, talking about things, again, this season, about things that we're curious about and things that are relevant to us as a community, both as educators, as parents, as part of this community. And so we're so excited about it. I'm excited about some of the shows we had planned. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But I'm really, really pumped up today because we have the opportunity to be curious about something different. And this time it's actually a person. So I had the opportunity when I started just a couple years ago. I met our mayor in Novi, and the mayor, Gat, had been around for a while, and certainly has been overseeing some of the things and the going-ons here in the city. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to get to know Mayor Justin Fischer, our new mayor in Novi. So welcome to the show, and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be kind of a unique show. Sometimes we have like 3 or 4 people here, and we have this kind of broader conversation, but this is really an opportunity to highlight not only what the school and the city might be able to do together, and I am curious about that, but I'm also interested to just learn a little bit about your background. And, you've been on city council, so people might know you from that. But beyond that, you're actually a graduate of this high school where we're sitting right now. So tell us a little bit about your journey, the fact that, you are an alum, you grew up in this community, and you went to this high school, and now you're here serving as the mayor. So what is that like?
It's pretty awesome. It's awesome to be kind of a hometown person and come up through the school district and then come back and be able to serve the community exactly how you're saying. So I grew up, went to Village Oaks, went through all Novi schools all the way through high school, class of 2001. And my wife is too, actually. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a Novi Woods graduate.
Okay.
And that's where our 2 kids go now.
So how did, when you were thinking about where to buy a house, how did she win out, in terms of saying, I want to make sure our kids go to Woods when you were a VO graduate?
Yeah, well, her parents, her mother actually also taught in Novi Community School.
Oh my goodness!
School. So we got a huge connection here,
right?
Like
a big family network.
Yeah, they were still in the community, and we wanted to be close to them. But my mom's here too. So,
okay.
But you just roll with whatever the wife wants. Sometimes.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
She liked the house, and that's where we ended up.
I do understand. Yes, I do understand. I think that's really awesome, and I've seen you at some of the Novi Woods events. I know your kids are there, and it's great to have you as a member of our school community as well. I think one of the things that I think about when I think about a relationship with our city council, our mayor, we think about how does the school and the city, work together? And how would you describe your ideal state? If you were to think about what would it look like in a perfect partnership, what does that look like between the school and the city?
I would actually say we're pretty close now. A lot of times people always say, why don't you go ahead and do more with the schools? Why don't you guys have more synergies? And I think people have to realize a couple things. One is you have a certain constituency that you need to realize and work with, and the city has a different one and different goals and different people that they need to service, right? Sure. And so that makes it a little tough to completely combine, right? But where we can, we are absolutely at the table with each other, providing services together, looking at what we can kind of cut or do for each other. And we've done that. We've done quite a bit of that work.
Yeah, I think you hit on something that's so true, and that is that I think a lot of times people expect certain things, but you have certain guidelines and criteria that you have to operate under. We do too. Yep. One of the things that comes to mind is just the population that we serve. So what's really interesting is, Novi has obviously one school district. We are one school district, and the vast majority of our school district, well, all of the school district is in the city of Novi. But the thing that's kind of interesting is the city of Novi is also in other school districts. So talk a little bit about the fact that it's not just Novi schools. You have other school districts that are in the city of Novi.
Absolutely. The residents of Novi are served by 4 different public school districts. Obviously, Novi, and as you mentioned, that's kind of the biggest. But Northville schools, Walled Lake schools, and even South Lyon schools. We have residents that attend all 4 of those districts.
Yeah.
And then the other day I was over at Catholic Central because we have that great institution here. So, and they said wonderful things about you as well.
I've been developing a really great relationship with them, and I think it's an important partnership. I think a lot of times, whether you're talking about the city, the school, private institutions, there's a lot of competition, which is, some of it's natural. I mean, certainly, and I would certainly tell them that anytime we play them in sports, we want to win, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I also think
I have to be I have to be careful there.
You have to be careful. I do not. And I would tell, everyone there, of course, we want to win on the athletic field, but there is also an opportunity to say we are serving children, constituents, community members, all in this community, many of whom are here, living here. So I think there's opportunities for dialogue, and we've had a great start getting to know them as well. So I think this is no different than the city, and I think really an area that is really kind of become it's blown up since even I've started to see the things happening here in Novi is. You have a very, very robust Parks and Rec department. We have a community education department, and so those groups have to work together a lot.
Yep.
So when you think about, how the school district can support the city's efforts, even in, I think about the senior community, right? We don't necessarily, as a school district, always think about the fact that there's an entire part of our community that's vital. They're very important to how we, thrive and strive and all those things. So how do you think the school district could even do some additional things to support or bring about some priorities that you might think about for that community as well?
Yeah, I think you do a pretty good job there as well. I would say, you have a whole population of youngsters that are energetic, have a lot of knowledge about things like technology and all these things. And we have a population that we're trying to serve as well that would love to hear more about that. And then on the flip side, the older generation has so much knowledge that they can share as well. So anything we can do to bring those groups together. And we've done them in the past. We've had a lot of people from like our youth council that join in the city. They would have host events like a senior prom and things like that. So those are the types of events that I've heard are love to be attended by our older adults and that we need to bring back.
Yeah, I agree. We had a great Rotary event at our middle school. It's a senior kind of holiday lunch that we've always done. And it's so great to see our seniors come and just see our students. We had a group of high school students that had started talking about possibly going into some of our senior communities and sharing, how to download apps, how to use them, like how do I use this technology to my advantage. And then we've also had some, for example, veterans come and speak to some of our elementary students about their experiences, and there's tons of great things that can happen with that. So, want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about maybe some of your key initiatives. So, as you think about, you're just getting started in this mayoralship, what are some, kind of priorities or vision that you have for the city of Novi?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. There's a couple key priorities. When it comes to cities and how they're run, I like to remember that, when it comes to our priorities, we really need to think about, things like police, things like fire, things like roads, sewer, water. That's what we're in the business of doing. There's people up in Lansing that do a lot of other things, and there's people in Washington do the other things. But, when it comes down to what we should be focusing on, it's that. One thing we're working on right now, we're looking through whether or not our police and fire buildings are adequate. They were built probably when I was going through elementary school, and a lot has changed since that time, including our population, but even the demographics of our officers and our fire protection people. So what can we do there? And obviously, that has a big play with the school district as well, because the stronger our police force, the stronger our public safety team, that's imperative to keeping all of our kids safe as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. one of the things that you mentioned was just the changing demographic. And I know as a school district, one of the things that I think is one of our greatest assets is our diversity. We have such a beautiful history and diversity that walk through our hallways every day. We're serving these families that come from such incredible backgrounds and have these amazing experiences. We recognize that you're serving those people, right, as a city as well. So how do you think about getting to all of our population, right? So one of the things we struggle with sometimes is to think about, when we send an email, we might take for granted that not everybody that we're serving can accept and process that email. I mean, that's a simple thing,
Right.
But there's a lot of considerations, and we want to be inclusive, and we want to think about, how do we really wrap our arms around our whole community so that all students and families feel connected. How do you kind of think through that as the mayor and as the city thinks about supporting citizens that they don't all look like you and I do?
Exactly. Yeah, we are constantly trying to think through the changing demographics. And, one example I'll give is within our parks department, similar to like you were talking about an email being sent. Well, we can all think of maybe the programs or the activities or the sports that we would want to see.
Yep.
But we do our best to go ahead and we do a lot of surveys. We do a lot of outreach to kind of get some ideas. And, that's how we end up with something like our cricket leagues or additional, fields for different sports and things like that. So that's how we go as about reaching out and trying to get a little feedback on, all right, well, what programs are we missing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you just said cricket because I want a cricket team at our high school. I think it would be amazing.
That would be.
Yeah.
Are there a lot in the area?
So no, there are not.
Okay.
But I figure, it was so cool. We had during AP testing week, which is always in the spring, we had students that had finished their AP exams.
Okay.
And so they went out, and almost like you would envision kids that just went out and played like a pickup game of basketball or baseball. They were having a pickup game of cricket, and they didn't need anyone to tell them the rules. They didn't need anybody to referee.
Right.
They just knew, and they just played. And then they were bringing all sorts of kids that didn't maybe know how to play into the game, and it was kids being kids in that way, which was really cool. And it was kind of this beautiful moment where it was like, man, there's so many things that we could probably do that just because it's not the traditional, sport or thing that people are doing.
Right.
That's part of the beauty of the diversity in this community.
It really
I think
is.
It's an awesome thing. And I think, for our students, it's an opportunity to have this beautiful cross-cultural experience almost every day, right?
Absolutely.
And more representative of what the world is actually like, right?
Yes. Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and so different from when I went
Sure.
here or even Village Oaks or anything else. It's amazing to see the diversity in like my son's fourth grade classroom compared to when I go and look at my Village Oaks yearbook.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
realize the amazing relationships and the background and the culture that he's learning just by going through school.
100%. It makes a huge difference. One of the things that you talked about, I know, while you were campaigning, and I know that campaigning is a difficult thing. One of the things as a superintendent, I am a public official, but I'm not an elected official, right?
Right.
And so we have a school board, of course, and they're kind of my reporting unit, and they're the governance body of the school district. But I talk a lot about how, there's an entire, as we just talked about the diversity, there's also diversity of thought, right? And so, one of the things as school districts that we have to maintain is maintaining obviously we're always going to advocate for what's right and for kids and children, but we're also always trying to, stay out of divisiveness when it comes to some of the political issues of the day. And I think you mentioned earlier state politics and things like that. They try to draw, whether it's school boards, school districts into those things, or they try to draw local, municipalities and their governments into those things. What are some things that you think about when you think about how to stay out of some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's a trend that we've seen where, whether it be the right or the left or something in between tends to try to get, like you said, whether it be a library board or a school board or a nonpartisan council like Novi into some of these topics. And I think it's quite simple from our perspective, and that's I'm going to sit there and I'm going to work with the people who want to move the city forward. It's people who want to, focus on, doing good. And kind of staying away from those couple topics. There's so many things that we can work on that we do agree on. We all agree we want a great, safe city with good schools and good roads and great parks for us to recreate.
Yep.
We can do a lot in that sphere, so why even dabble in those things that are going to divide us? And quite honestly, whether it be the Novi School Board, whether it be the Novi City Council, I think they've both done a great job as bodies of doing that in the past. I hope it continues.
I hope so. I think it's important, and certainly everybody's going to have, a political perspective or a personal political persuasion, but I think for us, it's really important because we're serving a population that, think all different things and have different religions, worldviews, experiences, and identities, and we have to be mindful of that. And I was talking with Representative Breen, and that's something I think as our representative here, in our school district, that's something that I know she believes in as well. So it's important to, try to. She's got a little bit of a different role, and we acknowledge that. But I think it's important as a school, as a city, we have a little bit of a different charge, and that doesn't mean that they're wrong or whatever. It's just a different type of situation.
And that's the key, though. I think that there is a place for some of these discussions, but I don't think they're at this local level. And I'm fine with letting them handle those at their pay grade.
Absolutely, yeah. That's out of my pay grade too. I will say one of the things that you mentioned was police and fire and schools, and I think about what does a community need to be strong? And, we were fortunate enough to be recognized as one of the top districts, the top district in Michigan. Here, the city was just noticed, I think, last year as the 10th city in the country, the entire United States, to live.
Yep.
And so that doesn't happen by accident.
Correct.
So what are some of the things that allows for a community like Novi to get that type of recognition?
Yep. Well, I think it's kind of the reason we're here, right? It really has to do with the partnership, whether with the schools, with the city, and everybody kind of chipping in, because, the way that you get awards like that is having a great school district. It's having great police and fire services. It's keeping your residents safe, low crime rates, low tax rates, all these different things that people want. And when all of those things come together, that's when you start to see these awards. Because to be quite honest, if you could be the greatest school district in the world, but if we were crime ridden and had a bunch of issues and you called the police and couldn't get someone if you needed them, then it wouldn't help you guys. And on the flip side, we could have the safest community in the world, but if people couldn't move here and put their kids into a great education system, then it would mean nothing on our side. We all really do have to be working together. That's how you get those awards.
It's so true. I'm glad you said that. It's such a symbiotic relationship. There's no way we would be the number one district if we didn't have a safe community, because people wouldn't bring their families here to live here, right?
Yep.
And there's no way that you'd be the top city if you didn't have a school district that people wanted to send their kids to, right? So I think it is so important, as you just described, to have that. And I've had a really great experience working with Chief Zinzer. This is one of the safest communities I've ever been able to be a part of. I think when you think about we had an incident at the school, and within 2 minutes, we have multiple cars on the scene.
Yep.
And that type of response time, the collaboration, the partnership that they care deeply, and they know our staff.
Yep.
We are fortunate enough to employ, we have two, we don't employ them, but we have 2 liaison officers, school resource officers. They're both amazing. And, so all of these things are what contribute to making it a great place. It's not just one thing. So,
well, and in that vein too, speaking of partnerships, because that seems to be the trend today, people don't realize that we have the Michigan State Police right in our police station. We have great partnerships with our feds. So if an incident does happen anywhere in the Novi area, we have a lot of resources to pull from because of those partnerships and because of the the friends we've made and housed here in the city of Novi.
Absolutely. I always like to make sure especially when we're talking one-on-one, that I give you an opportunity to say anything you'd want to say to somebody that's just curious about what's our new mayor all about. What would you want to leave people that watch this show in our community with?
Oh man.
Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
Or to put you on the spot.
I think the biggest thing for me is that Novi's government, and I'm speaking for myself and I'm speaking for my colleagues on the city council, we do our best to be open and hear the feedback, and our email addresses, our phone numbers, they're all on the website. I just want people to know that we're here for them, and to reach out to any of us, that we want to hear their feedback. We don't always have to maybe vote the way that people are going to want, but every person that I work with on the city council is really interested in making Novi the best.
Thank you for that. I love hearing that, and I've really enjoyed working with Victor as well. I think he's doing a great job, and he also has students in our school system.
Correct.
So I think it's a great team that you've got over there. We're excited about some of the potential partnerships in the future, many of which are going to be starting to be talked about even more. I think about the communications around traffic studies and things that we have on our site that we share. We also have some really exciting construction things that are going to be happening over the next few years as the school district is looking at our construction schedule and how that can help support our community members and constituents in the community as well. So there's so much that we have to look forward to in this community. It's a great time to be in Novi.
It really is. It really is. Well, we appreciate your partnership. I know Victor says great things about you. So does the whole team.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so excited to have Mayor Justin Fischer with us today, and want to just encourage you to keep watching. We have over the next few months, we're going to start releasing. We usually issue an episode every couple weeks. We're going to start talking this over the course of the next few months about why is it that things can be so controversial in schools. We have some really exciting things to talk about that. We're going to talk about volunteering. We've seen a lot of interesting things that have happened with the lack of parents that want to volunteer, and it's just a new trend we've seen since COVID. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some of the latest technology in education, some of the things that are coming down there. We're going to have some conversations about curriculum and how those things are done. Some exciting things to talk about relative to the school's vision for a strategic plan that's coming out over the next few months as well. So there's going to be a lot of action-packed episodes that are coming up. We're certainly honored, Mayor Fischer, to have you on our first episode of Season 2. Everybody stay curious and have a great day. Go Wildcats.